Hello, everybody. Welcome and a big welcome to you, Ralphie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited for this topic today.
Absolutely. I'm going to say a big hello to all the audience. And I know that the last session is running a little bit over, so I'm sure everybody's going to be joining right after that session ends. I am so excited today to welcome Ralphie. She has been such an active part of the Rev Genius community. She spends a lot of her time voluntarily for free educating the community, hosting a lot of sessions. So, yes, a very special guest for us to have you here. And of course, with the great depth of knowledge that you bring with you. Today, Ralphie is going to talk about expanding revenue footprint through customer centric transformation. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Ralphie. Take it away.
Thank, thank you so much, Pragya. So I'm gonna share my screen and jump in. I'm excited to kind of talk about this today. I know the economic landscape has changed, and I think this is a really important topic to really focus in on how you can really start to expand your revenue and really be the driver for customer centric transformation and customer success. So, a little bit about me. I've been in tech for 14 years, and I've spent all of my time in customer facing roles. I love it. It's kind of the area where I think I thrive the most. I've worked as an implementation engineer, a technical account manager, customer success manager, and I've led various post sales teams as well as built customer success teams from the ground up. I take somewhat of a radical approach. If you've ever heard me speak or met me in person, I kind of have a radical personality, but I do take a radical approach to customer success by focusing on customer centricity while also building high impact and high performing customer success teams. So I'm really excited to be here today. And I want us to jump in. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section, and I will try my best to answer them before the session ends. But again, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn to start a discussion, you can do that as well. So we've all seen the headlines. The business landscape is evolving rapidly from downsizing to shifting priorities. Many companies are focused on plans to do more with less. I think everyone that's on has heard that probably 1,000 times over the last year. And I'm sure our current economy has impacted many of you in some way. So for those of us who are in customer success, we've taken even a bigger hit with smaller teams, more accounts to manage, reducing churn, and being asked to expand revenue within our existing customer base. But wait, Ralphie, these are all things that we were tasked to do before. And yes, you're right. However, how do you adapt and continue to make an even bigger impact with less resources and many of your customers pushing back on spending more? So let's talk about that. One way that I've solved this over the years is really by taking a customer centric approach. Customer centricity is a philosophy that places the customer at the center of all decision making and operations. It prioritizes understanding and meeting customers' needs, preferences, and expectations throughout the entire customer journey. It's not just about delivering a product or a service, but it's about creating an exceptional customer experience. And we all know your customers' expectations evolve over time. Customers expect you to have personalized experiences, quick responses, a seamless journey. So customer centricity allows you to align all of those expectations. So why does this matter today? In today's competitive landscape, businesses that prioritize customer needs and satisfaction gain a competitive edge. And I'm going to say this multiple times. It's not just about saying you're a customer centric company, it's more about putting in the right processes and accountability in place to ensure all teams are functioning with a like mindset. So, what does that look like in practice? Let's talk about that customer centric transformation. It really involves redefining your business processes, your culture, and strategies around, delivering exceptional value to your customers. And I'm really passionate about this because customer success plays a vital role in this transformation by ensuring your customers achieve their desired outcomes. So when you start to think about your customer success team as a revenue driver, not just a team that's saving accounts or building relationships or reducing churn, you're able to start to shift your mindset to focus more on driving the right behaviors within your organization. So, how do you approach customer centric transformation? This is where we're going to dig in. We're going to walk through each of these areas. And I really highlight the first area, and I'm going to talk about that the most because I think that is the most important focus area for this conversation today. When you take a collaborative, integrated approach where CS collaborates closely with sales, marketing, and product, it ensures a consistent customer experience. We're going to talk about driving value realizations. So, do you understand your customers' objectives? What are their challenges? Where are things going well or not so well? Are they realizing the full value of your product? And lastly, measuring impact. None of the above matters if you don't have the right KPIs in place to measure the impact your CS team has on revenue. So let's dig in. Again, as you have questions, please pop them in the Q&A, and I'm going to try my best to get to those before we end today's session. So again, when I say customer-centric transformation, I am thinking beyond customer success. We're already customer focused, but many of you, and I've been there in the past before too, we're faced with sales teams closing deals that they shouldn't have closed in the first place, or not really having a grip on your ICP or your ideal customer profile. These are all areas where customer success can play a vital role by being at the center of the organization. And I want to give you some practical examples of how I've, accomplished this over time. So let's talk about sales. For a lot of you, it's like a love-hate relationship. I have been blessed with a love-love relationship with my VP of sales. And one of the areas I focused on when I started building out our customer success team was clear alignment between sales and CS. This is an ongoing process. We meet weekly and we assess our performance. Both myself and our VP of sales, our COO, we all hold each other accountable when we fall short, and we celebrate each other when we win. So let's talk about some of the things that I was able to do to help us accomplish that relationship. I want to start with account planning. I spend a considerable amount of time with our sales leadership team. I highlight successful accounts, accounts that have churned. I also provide a weekly report that highlights customers that are in onboarding, customers that are scaling their usage, and customers that are at risk. But in addition, I provide insights around our most successful customers, those customers that kind of fall in the middle, and the customers that have churned. In practice, I mean, that sounds straightforward. And I'm sure CS leaders, if you're on the call, you're providing weekly reports. Or if you're a CSM and you're on the call, you're providing report outs to your CS leader. It's all straightforward. However, what I found is that you have to take it a step further. The report outs are great, but what is the data telling you? I've probably said this 100 times. Data and insights tell your story. Are you starting to see patterns within specific customer segments? If so, what initiatives as a CS team, as a CS leader, are you driving to inform not just your sales team, but your product team and your marketing team? So here's an example of how I've done this in the past. So I noticed that there were a segment of customers who were less successful during onboarding. There were smaller deals. They just weren't getting off the ground fast enough. I also realized within that same segment, our CSMs were spending a considerable amount of time on these lower valued accounts versus our enterprise segment. So I had to really dig in to understand why. Why is it that our enterprise customers don't need this level of support, but our smaller accounts do? Using that data, I was able to work across sales, marketing, and product to one, redefine our ICP. Plus, I provided insights on how we can improve this segment's customer experience through self-service options, which was all led by product. So my report outs were report outs, but it also took insights from what I was learning from the data that informed how product could start to improve our self-service options for this segment of customers, give them a better onboarding experience, give them more documentation, give them SDKs to help them get off the ground. So that was all from me taking that data during account planning to really understand what our customer experiences were. So ultimately, this was a win for everyone. Sales stopped spending so much time focusing on those smaller deals because we now had a path for them to kind of try us and get moving without the need to have a salesperson involved. And product, again, created a path that made it easy for these customers to test and deploy using self service options. So, again, if you have that love hate relationship, find a way for you to kind of navigate in a way where you're giving data back to your sales team that's driving process improvements and efficiencies within their organization as well. Let's talk about the sales to CS handoff. And I'm going to pull in like value success planning. This is probably the one thing I hear CS folks talk about the most. It's a battle when CS or when sales just doesn't give you the information you need during the handoff. For me, I kind of took a slightly different approach. And this was really driven by our CSMs because we hone in on your owners. We really want you to drive the changes that we're making within our organization. So for us, value and success planning has been the key to shifting how we're handing off our accounts to customer success. Our sales to CS handoff process is more of a value planning session where the account executive highlights what value or success means to the customer and what's the timeline of realization. This process doesn't start with CS. We move this process to start during pre sales. So, our sales team is required to provide what we kind of call a mutual plan agreement that they work with the customer directly on. So, they're working with the customer to understand, what does success mean to you? Where do you want to see value? And they document that. And it's really allowed our CSMs to be able to get a more streamlined handoff when the CSM is going into the kickoff call with a better understanding of what of the customer's needs. So, and one thing that it also does, it clearly states their objectives in that and the timeline, which I think is really, really important for you to have at the start of your relationship and partnership with your customer, because then your CSM is driving milestones. They're driving that value. This is a shift we made when we realized we did not have a clear understanding of our customers' needs when I was evaluating customers that had churned. Remember, these insights tell you a story, and that's the story I started to see. And the CS leader, started to drive an initiative to where we could change the process to ensure we didn't have customers churning for this particular reason anymore. This alone has helped us decrease our time to value while also increasing our customer lifetime value, which I think is really, really a good metric for us to continue to measure. Again, this is an iterative process, and it's something that we continue to work on. We continue to revisit to see if there's areas for us to continue to improve. And lastly, I'll talk a little bit about product adoption. We don't allow our sales team to throw it over the fence and just let CS handle it. Like that's not how we operate. We operate more in an account team unit model. And I look at it like this, and I say this with every company that I've worked for. CS does not own the account. The company owns the account. And when you have that mindset, it allows everyone to understand that they play an important role in the success of that account. So by collaborating with sales on product adoption, we create again that seamless transition during sales to CS, with the sales to CS handoff, and we decrease gaps between the expectations that were set during pre-sales and the customer actually using our product. We're immediately able to maximize value. And furthermore, we're now able to use the insights gathered by CS to do things like identify CSQLs or CS qualified leads for upselling and cross selling. Again, we're talking about expanding revenue. So that entire process has given us a better path to be able to maximize value, which ultimately leads to us being able to expand revenue within that account. So I'm going to say it again. It's not just about saying you're a customer centric company. It's more about putting the right processes and accountability in place to ensure all teams are functioning with a like mindset. So let's talk about products. At some point in your career, I'm sure you've been in a space where product was building features that your customers weren't asking for, or not fixing the features that they actually thought was the most important feature for them. I think we've all been there at some point. But if you're in CS, how can you drive revenue expansion when there's misalignment with your product team? It's merely impossible. So, a strong collaboration between product and customer success can not only develop better products, but it also ensures that these products align with customer needs, it drives successful adoption, and it contributes to revenue growth. So, again, this integrated approach places the customer at the center of product development, again, ultimately leading to revenue growth. So, let's start with onboarding. So, in the previous slide, we talked about value and success planning. So let's say this is in place with our sales team. Our onboarding process was the next focus area. And what I was able to do by working with product is really streamline that process. So we have a clear onboarding customer experience path for each segment. This process was improved by me creating a working group that included members from our DX team, our PLG team, our product engineering team, and our product team. And we got in a room and we asked ourselves tough questions. What areas are our customers struggling the most? Where are our gaps? Is there a digital customer success strategy that we can deploy? Do we need to do more with our self-service offering? So again, let's go back to that segment of customers that I mentioned earlier. One of the things we identified, remember I said they weren't able to get off the ground fast enough. So we implemented a monthly office hours with members from our tech team and our product team to help drive faster onboardings with this segment. Again, this brings product closer to the onboarding experience of our customers. This also helps them to iterate faster and ensure we have the right tools in place to support our customers during onboarding. So, again, not just giving them the reports and telling them, actually pushing them towards the customer, getting them face to face with the customer. So they're starting to see and understand those experiences firsthand. In the onboarding side, on the other hand, for our larger accounts, we're taking a more strategic approach. So again, I'm bringing product closer to our customer base. They are on calls with us. They're visiting on site with us. And they're getting that clear view of what's working well and what's not working well. Again, this isn't an area that I, as a CS leader, solved alone. Each team played a key role in our ability to address onboarding. So again, CS was the driver by providing the right data and insights to show the revenue impact of us not addressing this area, or us not, like, focusing on the right product initiatives. So let's talk a little bit about understanding customer needs and feedback loop. I think I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably scream from the mountaintop. This is what our customers are asking for. These are the things that our customers need. You've sent out surveys, you've documented customer feedback, you've talked about their pain points, you've documented their feature requests. If you're not doing those things, I would say definitely start there. But if you are and you're still not moving the needle, then here's something that I suggest. We all know that there's golden insight that lies within the feedback that you get directly from your customers. So I'm going to say again, take it a step further. So when you're sharing these insights with your product team, you're gathering this feedback. I've decided to start presenting it in a way that actually moves the needle. So for me, that means instead of just giving product a list of all the feature requests or all the pain points and the things that customers are complaining about, I take it a step further by saying, how can I tie revenue directly to our customer feedback? Here, instead of me just, giving the report, I'm saying, here's the amount of revenue that is at risk. Here's the amount of revenue that we're leaving on the table if we don't focus on this particular feature. This has helped product develop their roadmap in a way that has the biggest revenue impact. And it also allows them to allocate resources to the projects that matters the most. This shift for our team has led to an invite to our weekly resource meeting, allocation meeting, which I think is exciting. I know it's just, hey, they invited you to a meeting, but if you're in CS, and especially if you're a CS leader, having product rely on you on their roadmap what decisions they're making, and where they're allocating resource is a huge win. And it really shows that your product team is aligned with your customer needs. Then lastly, product adoption and customer health monitoring. These two should not be just customer success metrics. These should be company metrics. And I stand on that. These should absolutely be company metrics. So collectively, sales, CS, products, and other teams to really have a product adoption strategy that targets onboarding. If you're, a SaaS company, you do training, it needs to target training and product feature showcases. And all of that should tie directly into your customer health. When you tie these metrics into revenue, you start to drive the right behaviors with sales during pre-sales, CS and product during post sales. So again, for this portion, the key takeaway, tying your customer experience to revenue impact allows you to move the needle towards truly being customer centric. And let's talk about marketing. I'm going to keep this brief because in all of these activities that I've mentioned, from our perspective, our marketing team has been involved. And in many cases, they're either listening in on these strategic conversations, they're joining our working groups, and they're collaborating across the entire go to market team and product. So, why is this important? This collaboration allows us to leverage existing customer relationships to create opportunities for upselling, cross selling, and referrals. So when you get all of these things right and you start moving the needle in a very different way, marketing will be better prepared to partner with you in building out a customer advocacy program, creating a funnel for your CSMs to gather stories and testimonials, build out a workflow for CSQLs that power that revenue expansion that we're talking about, and overall improve your marketing content and outreach. So I mentioned we're going to talk about driving, value realization. By starting with that integrated approach where you're collaborating across the organization, driving value realization starts to look very, very different for you. Customer success becomes the value driver where you're ensuring the customer achieves their desired outcomes. You're helping them maximize product adoption, all while realizing the full potential of your product. So if you've talked to your customers lately or interviewed a churn customers, it's likely that they were not receiving value from your product or they weren't seeing a return on their investment. This is where CS's impact is more important than ever when driving value realization. So again, driving the alignment efforts where everyone is working towards a common goal, helping customers to realize the full value of your products. Using value plans for each customer based on their goals that clearly define their milestones, their success criteria, their timeline. And again, define KPIs that align with your customers' goals. Regularly measure them and report on the progress, not just to your CS team, but to your C level and as well as your board. Relying on data and insights to drive value realization efforts. When you're making data driven decisions, you can identify areas of improvement, optimize your customer journey, and again, help to redefine your product strategy. Through collaboration, your customer success team can engage with customers proactively, addressing their needs in a very different way, providing resources and guiding them again towards that value realization. And then lastly, what better team to foster a customer centric culture than customer success? When this type of mindset and culture spreads throughout all departments, this ensures that delivering value to customers remain a top priority. So let's dig into measuring impact. I just want to kind of close this out with a lesson that I've learned. It's been a key lesson for me throughout my journey, especially with building teams from the ground up. You can put all the processes in place, you can collaborate across the organization, but if you're not able to show the impact that your customer success team has on revenue, you're doing yourself and your team a disservice. I see many leaders make the mistake of not doing this, and it's costly because oftentimes customer success teams are viewed as a cost center. This list isn't exhaustive, but it gives you metrics that you can start tracking around revenue growth and customer engagement that will be valuable for you to start driving the right decisions within your organization. So I'm not going to go through these because I know we're kind of short on time, but I do highly recommend that you screenshot this list and apply the right metrics to your organizations. There's tons of resources online that walk through how you can measure this. If you have to start in a spreadsheet, start somewhere, but really start to tie the metrics and the activities that your CSMs are doing to these metrics, tie it to revenue, so you're able to show how you're expanding, how you're growing the organization from a whole, not just specifically from account point of view. So I'll give you a couple more seconds to screenshot that. And then I wanted to leave you with some key takeaways. Again, don't forget to screenshot this. I really appreciate each of you joining. I do want to, give you a moment to review these. Again, screenshot it. And I'm going to see, it looks like I have just a few minutes. If I can maybe take one question or maybe two before we end the session. But again, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you want to just have a conversation, if you want to schedule a coffee chat, we can do that as well. So I have a question. What are the best strategies for customer centricity? Thank you, Gina, for that question. So I think I've kind of gone through that. And if there's any specific areas where you want to dig in a bit more, I'm totally open to having that conversation. So please reach out to me. Do you have a blueprint? This is from Amit. Do you have a blueprint which can help to build the strategies for customer centricity and ideal customer profile? So I don't have like a documented blueprint, but some of the things that I have done is I've used our onboarding data, I've used our churn data, and I've used kind of, ARR to segment our customers based on their performance. So, customers that are enterprise, customers that are mid-market, customers that are SMB, and breaking it down to see the different paths that these customers are taking. What are the similarities that I'm seeing for customers that are extremely successful from each, segment? What are the similarities that I'm seeing for ones that are kind of in the middle? And then what are the similarities that I see for the ones that are churning? I take all of that data and I combine it and I do a further analysis to help identify where we're not winning. So again, when I talked about that small segment, those were the accounts that were churning the most. Those are the accounts that were onboarding, the slowest. And we saw very little growth within that segment of accounts. That was a red flag for me from start. And that told me this is a segment that we need to treat in a different way. So by doing that analysis, I was able to pull out insights that helped to drive us to make decisions in a slightly different way. But then I also brought in marketing and sales. So I don't, as a CS leader, it's not only my job to identify our ICP, but it's also to work with marketing and your sales team as well to really define what that looks like. So you have kind of that cohesive strategy. Let me see. I think I have maybe time for one more. How do you build, this is from Sandra, how do you build customer focused company for an early stage startup that is pre-revenue? It starts at the top, Sandra. This isn't something that, you can do alone. You really need to be, in a space where you have your C-level executives, your founders who understand what it means to be customer focused. So I've done this in several different ways. One way is, again, using the data and insights and showing them, hey, when we start to focus more on what the customer needs are, these are the things that are happening. So I focus a lot on the outcomes of these behaviors. I've also recommended that our CEOs and our founders read specific books. So there's different ways that you can approach that. But I do recommend you reach out to me and we can chat about that a little bit more. So I thank you everyone for joining. Again, reach out to me on LinkedIn if I wasn't able to get to your question.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Ralphie. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these questions, take it to Ralphie, and try to get answers to send it to you back when we send you the recording of the session. Thank you so much,
Sounds
everybody.
great.
And we're going to start the next session in a minute. See you there.